She was alone at the wedding until a stranger said, "Pretend you're mine tonight." Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get into today's story. She was alone at the wedding. The room was filled with laughter and celebration, but she couldn't help but feel out of place. Emma Brooks had promised her best friend Jenny that she would attend the wedding, but now that she was here, it felt like the weight of the world was on her shoulders. Her dress was secondhand, her shoes scuffed from months of use, and her nerves were shot. She wasn't like the others here. Everyone else looked so put together. Emma could barely breathe. As she walked into the ballroom, her heart pounded in her chest. She glanced around, searching for a familiar face. But everyone seemed to be paired off, dancing or laughing with someone special. She was on her own. She sighed, making her way to a table in the back. Her mind raced as she sat down, adjusting her dress as best as she could. Just as she settled in, she noticed a man sitting at the table next to her. He was alone, staring down at his phone. His suit was sharp, his hair neatly combed, and he looked like he belonged in a place like this, elegant, confident. He was definitely not someone she expected to be sitting beside. Table 7, she mumbled to herself, looking at her phone. That was supposed to be her date's table. She scanned the room again and realized her mistake. Oh no, I'm sitting at the wrong table. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment. She stood up quickly to leave, but before she could, the man looked up and caught her eye. His expression was calm, but there was something about him, something oddly familiar, even though she didn't know him. "You must be Kevin," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "I'm Emma." The man blinked, clearly confused, then chuckled softly. Hi, Emma." She sat down, still thinking she'd misread the situation. But her nerves started to ease as she realized he wasn't going to make her feel uncomfortable. He wasn't Kevin, but he didn't seem to mind. Emma laughed nervously, trying to cover up her awkwardness. "I know, blind dates are weird, right?" She glanced at her phone to see if she could text her actual date. "Jenny told me you might be a little shy, so don't worry, I can talk enough for both of us." The man smiled faintly. "Right, blind dates are something else." Emma smiled back, finally feeling the tension leave her body. They started talking, and the conversation flowed easily. She asked him what he did for a living, and he replied vaguely, "I work in tech." Emma nodded enthusiastically, though she had no idea what that really meant. "Tech? Like coding and apps?" she asked. "Something like that," he replied, his smile widening. He leaned back in his chair, watching her closely. Despite the awkward start, Emma found herself laughing more than she had in days. She felt comfortable with him, even though she didn't know him at all. She kept talking, sharing stories about her struggles as a waitress, how she barely made enough to cover rent, and her dream of opening her own art studio one day. "You're not what I expected," she said thoughtfully. "Jenny said you were reserved, but you're easy to talk to." The man chuckled softly. "You're easy to talk to, too," he said, his eyes softening. Emma beamed at the compliment, her nerves now completely gone. She was about to ask him more about his work when her phone buzzed. She looked at the message from Jenny. "Hey Emma, where are you? I'm at table 7, looking forward to meeting you, Kevin." Her heart sank as she reread the message. Slowly, she turned to the man in front of her. "You're not Kevin, are you?" she asked, barely above a whisper. He smiled sheepishly. "No, I'm not." Emma's stomach twisted with embarrassment. "Oh my God," she muttered, standing up quickly. "I'm so sorry, I sat at the wrong table. This is so embarrassing." She grabbed her coat, her face flushed, and started to walk away. But the man stood up too, stopping her. "Wait, Emma," he called softly. She stopped but didn't turn around. "It's okay," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. "Don't worry about it." Emma paused, feeling a strange sense of relief. She turned to face him. "I really am sorry," she said, her voice quiet. He smiled again, his expression warm. "It's okay, really." Emma stared at him for a moment, still unsure of what to do. But she realized, as she looked into his eyes, that for some reason, she didn't want to leave just yet. "Thanks," she said softly, and without another word, she turned and left the table, her mind racing. Little did she know, this would be the start of something much bigger than she could ever imagine. After Emma hurriedly left the table, her heart racing with embarrassment, she quickly walked toward the exit. She could feel the eyes of the guests on her, but she didn't dare look back. Her face was burning, and her stomach churned as she wondered how she had managed to sit at the wrong table at such an important event. She reached the door and paused, taking a deep breath. "You should have just checked the table number," she muttered to herself, shaking her head. As she turned the corner and stepped into the lobby, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in the mirrored wall. She hardly recognized the person staring back at her, dressed in an old second-hand dress, looking nothing like the elegant guests around her. It felt like a moment frozen in time, a reminder of how different she was from everyone else at the wedding. But just as she was about to leave, she heard a voice behind her. "Emma." She turned around. It was the man from the table. He was standing near the entrance, looking at her with a slight frown on his face. He must have followed her, but why? I'm sorry," he said softly, his voice calm, almost too calm. "I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable." Emma blinked, still unsure of what to say. She had expected him to just let her go, but there he was, standing there, like he was trying to make sure she didn't leave in a hurry. "No, it's fine," she stammered. "Really, I'm the one who should apologize. I should have checked the table number." He gave a small smile, then walked up to her slowly. "I'm Liam, by the way," he said, extending his hand. Emma hesitated for a moment, but then shook it, still a little flustered. "I know. You said you were Kevin earlier," she replied, her voice tinged with embarrassment. "Well, I'm not Kevin," he said, smiling slightly. "But I do think we should get to know each other better." She raised an eyebrow at him, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he continued, his tone more serious now, "maybe we should have that coffee we were supposed to have, only this time we're not sitting at the wrong table." Emma looked at him, unsure of what he was trying to do. "Are you asking me out?" she asked bluntly. "Not exactly," he said with a chuckle, "but I think we both could use a little more honesty. So, how about it? One coffee, no mistakes this time." Emma hesitated again, feeling a bit thrown off. She didn't know what to make of him or his offer. He was a stranger, after all. And yet there was something about the way he was looking at her that made her feel like she could trust him. Just a little. "All right, one coffee," she said, her voice steady now. "But just coffee, nothing more." Liam smiled, clearly pleased with her response. "Nothing more," he agreed. They walked together to a small cafe nearby, away from the lavish ballroom and the wedding festivities. As they sat down at a quiet table, Emma couldn't help but feel a little nervous. She had never been one to talk to strangers so easily, but Liam made her feel comfortable, in a way that she didn't quite understand. "So, what exactly do you do, Liam?" she asked, trying to break the silence. He leaned back in his chair, his smile never faltering. "I work in tech," he said vaguely, as he had earlier. Emma tilted her head, unsure of what that meant. "Tech? Like coding and apps?" she asked, not sure how to phrase it. He chuckled at her confusion. "Sort of," he said, "but I don't want to bore you with the details. Let's talk about you instead." Emma was a little taken aback. Most people she knew wouldn't want to hear about her life. She wasn't anyone important, not in the way people like Liam were. "I'm just a waitress," she said quietly. "Not exactly glamorous, but it pays the bills, most of the time." Liam looked at her with genuine interest, his gaze warm and inviting. "I think that's pretty amazing," he said, surprising her. "It takes a lot of strength to do what you do. You know, most people wouldn't have the patience for a job like that." Emma felt a little blush rise to her cheeks, but she didn't look away. "Thanks," she said softly. They continued to talk, the conversation flowing naturally between them. As they shared stories about their lives, Emma found herself laughing more than she had in a long time. Liam had a way of making her feel like she wasn't just a waitress from a small town, but someone worth talking to. For the first time in a while, she felt seen. When the coffee came, they both took a sip in silence, enjoying the quiet moment. But then Liam spoke again, his voice low. "You know, I wasn't really expecting to meet someone like you tonight," he said, almost as if to himself. Emma raised an eyebrow, unsure of what he meant. "Someone like me?" she asked. He looked at her, his eyes serious now. "Someone who isn't afraid to be real," he said. "Most people put on a mask, pretend to be something they're not. But you're just you." Emma swallowed, feeling a lump form in her throat. "Well, that's all I can be," she said, her voice quieter than before. "I'm not good at pretending." Liam smiled again, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. She wasn't sure where this was going, but for once, she didn't mind. It felt nice to be with someone who wasn't pretending, someone who just wanted to be real. Maybe this night wasn't such a mistake after all. As the evening went on, Emma and Liam continued to talk, losing track of time. The small cafe was quiet, with only a few other customers scattered around, and the soft hum of the city outside added to the peaceful atmosphere. Emma hadn't expected to feel so comfortable with a stranger, especially one like Liam, but there was something about him that made her want to open up. For the first time in a long while, she felt like someone was genuinely interested in what she had to say. They talked about everything and nothing: her dreams of opening an art studio, his work in tech, and even the small things that made them laugh. She found herself telling him about the struggles she faced, from the long shifts at the diner to the constant worry about rent. Liam listened intently, offering thoughtful responses and a warmth that made her feel seen, in a way she never had before. It wasn't just about her hardships, it was the way he made her feel like her dreams weren't so far out of reach. "You're not just a waitress, Emma," Liam said, his voice steady and sincere. "You're a person with dreams and goals, and that's something worth investing in." Emma looked at him, surprised by his words. "You really think that?" she asked, her voice soft. "I do," he said with a smile. "I think you have a lot more to offer than you realize. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." His words lingered in her mind as they continued talking. Emma wasn't sure what to make of him yet, but she couldn't deny that there was a connection growing between them, something more than just two people passing the time. By the time they finished their coffee, the sun had set, and the streets outside were bathed in the glow of streetlights. Emma glanced at her watch and sighed. "I should probably get going," she said, though she wasn't ready for the night to end. Liam looked at her, his expression thoughtful. "I know it's late, but would you like to take a walk?" he asked. "We could walk around the park nearby, if you're not in a hurry." Emma hesitated, but then something inside her made her want to stay. "I'd like that," she said with a smile. They left the cafe and walked together through the quiet streets. The park was just a short walk away, and as they entered, Emma felt the cool night air on her skin. It was a sharp contrast to the warmth of the cafe, and for a moment she let herself relax. They walked side by side, not speaking much at first, just enjoying the simple peace of the moment. The park was nearly empty, with only a few people walking their dogs or sitting on benches. Emma was surprised by how easy it was to be with Liam, how natural their connection felt. "I don't usually do this," Liam said suddenly, breaking the silence. "I don't usually talk to people the way I've been talking to you tonight." Emma looked at him, curious. "What do you mean?" she asked. Liam hesitated, then sighed. "I don't know," he said, his voice quiet. "I just feel like there's something real here, something worth exploring. I'm not sure what it is yet, but it feels different." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure what he was saying, but she felt the same way. There was something about him, something that made her believe he wasn't like anyone she'd met before. They stopped by a bench in the park, and Liam sat down, motioning for her to join him. She did, sitting beside him, feeling the soft rustling of the leaves in the trees above. The sound was soothing, calming, and for a moment everything felt right. Liam turned to her, his eyes serious. "I know we're still getting to know each other," he said, "but I feel like I can trust you, and I'm not the kind of person who opens up easily." Emma smiled softly, touched by his honesty. "I trust you too," she said quietly. "I don't know what it is, but I feel like we're on the same page." Liam's eyes softened, and for a moment, they just sat there in silence, both of them lost in their thoughts. But then Liam spoke again, his voice steady and calm. "I know this might sound crazy," he said, "but I think we should see where this goes. I don't want to rush anything, but I don't want to let it slip away either." Emma's heart raced. She wasn't sure what he meant, but she felt something deep inside her that told her this was the beginning of something new, something exciting. She looked at him, her eyes meeting his. "I agree," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let's see where this goes." They sat there for a while longer, the night air cool around them, the quiet of the park wrapping them in its peaceful embrace. Emma didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long while, she wasn't afraid of what came next. She was just excited to see where this new connection with Liam would take her. As the weeks passed, Emma and Liam spent more time together, their connection deepening with each conversation and every shared moment. They had become inseparable, meeting for coffee, taking walks in the park, and talking for hours about their hopes and dreams. Emma had started to open up in ways she never had before, and Liam, despite his reserved nature, seemed genuinely interested in getting to know her. It wasn't just the surface-level questions anymore. He asked her about her childhood, her family, and her deepest desires. The more she told him, the more she felt like he was listening, truly listening. She couldn't remember the last time she had felt so understood. One evening, as they walked along the river, Liam turned to her with a serious look in his eyes. "I need to tell you something, Emma," he said, his voice quieter than usual. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't seen him this serious before. "What is it?" she asked, suddenly nervous. "I've been thinking about us," Liam continued, his gaze steady. "I know we've been taking things slow, and I respect that, but I don't want to keep pretending that this is just some casual thing. I want to be honest with you. I care about you, Emma. I don't want to hold back anymore." Emma stopped walking, her mind racing. She had always known that there was something more between them, but hearing Liam say it out loud made her heart swell. "I care about you too," she whispered, almost without realizing it. "I don't want this to just be a fling either. I want something real." Liam smiled at her, relief washing over his face. "Then let's make it real," he said, his voice full of conviction. "No more pretending, no more games." Emma couldn't help but smile back. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she was standing on solid ground. They weren't pretending anymore. What they had was real. "Okay," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Let's make it real." The next few weeks were filled with even more moments of connection, laughter, and deep conversations. Liam introduced Emma to his world, his friends, his colleagues, and even his favorite spots around the city. She found herself falling deeper for him, not just because of his wealth or status, but because of the person he was. He was kind, thoughtful, and, most importantly, he saw her for who she really was. And that was something she hadn't experienced before. But as their relationship grew stronger, Emma began to feel the weight of something she had been avoiding. She hadn't told Liam the full truth about her financial struggles. She had told him bits and pieces, enough to explain why she worked so many shifts at the diner, but she hadn't shared just how deep in debt she was, how close she was to losing everything. Every time they talked about the future, Emma couldn't help but wonder if Liam would still feel the same way, if he knew the full extent of her situation. One evening, as they sat together on his balcony overlooking the city skyline, Emma finally spoke up. "Liam," she started, her voice trembling slightly, "there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you a long time ago." Liam turned to her, his eyes filled with concern. "What is it?" he asked, his tone gentle. Emma took a deep breath, gathering the courage to say the words that had been weighing on her for weeks. "I've been lying to you," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not about us, but about me. I've been struggling with money, Liam. I've been in debt for months, and I don't know how much longer I can keep it together. I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want you to think less of me." Liam's expression softened, and he reached out to take her hand in his. "Emma, look at me," he said gently. "I don't care about your debts. I care about you. And that's not going to change just because of a few numbers on a piece of paper. You're more than that. You're the person I want to be with no matter what." Emma's eyes filled with tears, and for the first time in weeks she felt a sense of relief. "But I feel like I'm failing," she said, her voice cracking. "I don't want you to think I'm just using you or taking advantage of you." Liam shook his head, his grip tightening on her hand. "You're not using me, Emma. And you're not failing. We all have our struggles. But you don't have to go through this alone. Let me help you. Let me be there for you, just like you've been there for me." Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing. It was too good to be true. "You would really help me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam smiled, his eyes soft and full of warmth. "Of course. We're a team, Emma. And teams don't give up on each other." Emma leaned into him, her heart full of gratitude. She had never felt more loved, more cared for, in her entire life. For the first time, she felt like she wasn't alone in the world. And in that moment, she knew that no matter what happened, they could face anything together. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Liam kissed her forehead gently, a reassuring smile on his face. "Always, Emma, always." As they sat there together, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance, Emma realized that this was only the beginning of their journey. She didn't know what the future held, but with Liam by her side, she finally felt like she could face it all. Weeks passed, and Emma's relationship with Liam blossomed. It wasn't just about the late-night walks and deep conversations anymore. They were building something real, something that both of them had been craving but hadn't realized. Emma felt lighter, freer, knowing that she no longer had to hide her struggles from Liam. He never once made her feel less than, no matter how difficult things got. He was patient, kind, and most importantly, he made her feel like she mattered, just as she was. It felt surreal, like something out of a movie. Liam didn't just talk about helping her. He showed it every single day. Whether it was helping her find a new, better job or taking the time to sit down and help her figure out how to tackle her debts, he was there. She had never felt so supported, so cherished. But despite everything, there was still a nagging feeling inside her, a fear she couldn't quite shake. Emma had learned not to trust easily, and she wasn't sure if she could let herself completely rely on someone else, especially someone like Liam, who seemed to have everything going for him. As much as she wanted to believe it, a small part of her still feared that one day he would wake up and realize she wasn't good enough for him. She wasn't from his world, and though he had made it clear that he didn't care about that, Emma couldn't help but worry. One evening, Liam invited her to a charity gala his company was hosting. It was a huge event, with some of the wealthiest and most influential people in the city attending. As soon as Emma stepped into the grand ballroom, she felt out of place. She was dressed in a beautiful gown that Liam had insisted she wear, but even then, the glittering chandeliers and opulent surroundings made her feel small, like a fish out of water. Liam had introduced her to some of his colleagues earlier, and though they were all polite, Emma could feel their eyes on her, sizing her up. She smiled politely, trying to act like she belonged, but inside, she was a bundle of nerves. Liam noticed immediately. "Hey," he said softly, leaning in to whisper in her ear. "You look stunning tonight, but if you're uncomfortable, we can leave whenever you want." Emma turned to him, grateful for his kindness, but shook her head. "No, I'm fine," she replied, offering him a reassuring smile. "It's just a bit overwhelming, that's all." Liam smiled, his hand gently squeezing hers. "I understand, but I'm right here, okay?" He leaned down and kissed her forehead, a small gesture that made her feel safer. The night continued, and Emma did her best to blend in, but she couldn't stop thinking about how different her life was from the people around her. She wasn't used to this world of luxury and wealth, and as much as Liam tried to make her feel at home, she couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't belong. After dinner, they were standing by the balcony, looking out at the skyline when Emma spoke. "Liam, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Liam turned to face her, his brow furrowed with concern. "What is it?" he asked, his tone gentle. Emma took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I've been thinking a lot about us," she said slowly. "And I don't know. I feel like you deserve someone who fits in better with your world. Someone who knows how to navigate all of this, all these fancy events, and all these people. And I just feel so out of place." Liam reached for her hand, holding it firmly. "Emma, listen to me," he said softly. "You are exactly where you need to be, with me. This world doesn't matter to me if I don't have you in it." Emma's heart fluttered at his words, but doubt still lingered in the back of her mind. "But what if? What if I'm not enough for you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if one day you realize that I'm just too different?" Liam's expression softened, and he gently cupped her face in his hands, lifting her chin so she could look him in the eye. "Emma, you're everything I could ever want," he said with complete sincerity. "I don't care about anything else, just you. Don't ever doubt that." His words were like a balm to her soul, but even then, Emma struggled to let go of the fear that had taken root in her heart. "But I don't want to be a burden to you," she said, her voice shaky. "I don't want you to feel like you have to take care of me." Liam chuckled softly, the sound warm and comforting. "Emma, you are not a burden. You're the person I want to share my life with. And I'm not going anywhere. Not now. Not ever." He pulled her into a gentle hug, wrapping his arms around her. "I'm here for the long haul, Emma. Don't forget that." Emma held onto him tightly, her heart finally allowing itself to believe him. For the first time in a long while, she felt the weight of her worries lift. Maybe, just maybe, she could have everything she had ever wanted. A love that was real. A future full of possibilities. And someone who would stand by her side no matter what. She closed her eyes and let herself relax into his arms, knowing that, for the first time, she didn't have to face the world alone. As the days went by, Emma and Liam's relationship continued to grow stronger. They spent nearly every day together, navigating the ups and downs of life, with Liam by her side every step of the way. Emma was beginning to feel more at home in her own skin. The constant anxiety she had felt about her financial situation seemed to fade a little bit with each passing day. And it wasn't just because of the help Liam offered, it was the way he made her feel. He made her feel valued, not for her job or her past, but for who she was in the present. It was something she had never experienced before. One morning, as they were having breakfast together at his apartment, Liam turned to her with a thoughtful expression. "You know, I've been thinking," he said, his tone casual but serious. Emma looked up from her coffee, curious. "About what?" she asked. Liam took a deep breath, as if choosing his words carefully. "I want to make this official, not just between us, but in front of everyone. I want to show you that I'm in this for the long haul." Emma's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Liam reached for her hand, his touch warm and comforting. I want to make you my priority, Emma, he said. I've been thinking a lot about our future, and I know I want to be with you. I want to take the next step. Emma felt a rush of emotions wash over her. She had been waiting for a moment like this, but hearing him say it out loud made everything feel more real. She wasn't sure what the next step was exactly, but she knew she was ready. I think I want that too, she said quietly, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and fear. But I don't know what's next. I'm not sure how to navigate this whole thing. Liam smiled at her, his eyes full of understanding. We don't have to figure everything out right now, he said. We can take our time, but I just wanted you to know that I'm committed to making this work. Emma nodded, feeling a sense of relief. They didn't have to have all the answers. As long as they were together, they could figure things out as they went along. That evening, Liam took her to a small, quiet park near his apartment. The air was crisp, and the sun was beginning to set, casting a soft orange glow over the city. They walked in comfortable silence, side by side, until they reached a bench overlooking a small lake. Emma sat down, taking a deep breath. This place is beautiful, she said softly. I come here to think sometimes, Liam said, sitting next to her. It helps clear my mind. Emma smiled, appreciating the peacefulness of the moment. It's perfect, she said. Liam turned to her, his eyes serious again. I've been thinking about something, he said. I know you've been struggling with your finances, and I want to help, but I don't want you to feel like you owe me anything. I don't want to pressure you. I just want you to know that I'm here for you no matter what. Emma felt a lump form in her throat. She had been so afraid of accepting help, afraid of feeling like a burden. But here he was, offering it without any strings attached. It was exactly what she needed to hear. Liam, she said, her voice trembling, I can't tell you how much that means to me, but I don't want you to think I'm only here because of that. I'm here because of you, because of what we have. Liam smiled, his face softening. I know, Emma, he said gently. I don't think that. I just want you to know that you're not alone anymore. You don't have to carry all of this by yourself. Emma leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. For the first time in a long while, she felt at peace. She didn't have to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders. She had someone who cared, someone who would be there for her through it all. They sat in silence for a while, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The world around them felt quiet, as if time had slowed just for them. Emma realized that this was the moment she had been waiting for, not the perfect life or the perfect solution to all her problems, but the promise of something real, something she could hold on to. Thank you, she whispered, her voice full of emotion. For everything. Liam kissed the top of her head, his voice steady and comforting. You don't have to thank me, Emma, he said. I'm just glad I'm here with you. They sat there together, letting the moment wash over them. In that quiet park, Emma knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it together. And for the first time, she wasn't afraid. The next few weeks were filled with excitement, new experiences, and a growing sense of contentment for both Emma and Liam. Their relationship was evolving naturally, each day bringing them closer together. Emma had never felt more alive, more hopeful for the future. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't just going through the motions of life, she was actually living it. However, as their bond deepened, Emma couldn't shake the nagging feeling that still lingered in the back of her mind. The fear of being vulnerable, of letting someone else take on the weight of her problems, was hard to push aside. She had always dealt with things on her own, but now, with Liam offering so much of himself, she was starting to wonder if she was taking more than she could give. It wasn't that she didn't trust him, she did, with all her heart. It was just that accepting his help felt too much like admitting defeat, like she wasn't strong enough to stand on her own. One evening, Liam surprised her with a small getaway. I thought we could get away for a couple of days. Just the two of us, he said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Somewhere quiet, no distractions. Emma had been hesitant at first, unsure if she was ready for that kind of escape. But Liam had insisted, and eventually she gave in, knowing that it would be a chance to recharge and spend some time alone together without the weight of the world on their shoulders. They drove to a quiet cabin by a lake, surrounded by nature and far from the hustle and bustle of the city. The moment they arrived, Emma felt the stress of her everyday life begin to melt away. The air was fresh, the trees were lush and green, and the lake shimmered in the sunlight like a mirror. It was peaceful, exactly what they both needed. For the next few days, they spent their time hiking, cooking meals together, and enjoying each other's company in a way they hadn't been able to in the chaos of their usual lives. It was simple, but it was perfect. One evening after a long hike, they sat on the porch, sipping hot tea and watching the sun dip below the horizon. The quiet was soothing, and for a while, they just sat in comfortable silence, listening to the chirping of crickets and the rustle of the trees in the wind. Finally, Liam broke the silence. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice soft. "About us." Emma looked at him, her heart skipping a beat. "What about us?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. He hesitated for a moment, as if weighing his words carefully. "I think we're ready for the next step, Emma," he said, his gaze meeting hers. "I don't want to waste any more time. I want us to build a future together, one where we both support each other and work through everything, no matter what comes our way." Emma's heart swelled at his words, but a familiar wave of doubt washed over her. She had been waiting for this moment, but now that it was here, she felt unsure. "Liam, I'm not sure I'm ready for that," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't want to hold you back, but I still have so much I need to work through. I don't know if I can give you everything you deserve." Liam reached for her hand, his grip warm and reassuring. "Emma," he said gently, "I don't want perfection. I just want you. I know you're not perfect, but neither am I. I don't need everything from you right away. I just want to build something real, together, step by step." His words pierced through her doubts, and for the first time, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of their future. Maybe it wasn't about being perfect. Maybe it was about trusting each other, being vulnerable, and walking through life together, no matter the challenges. She looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity there, and realized that she didn't have to be afraid anymore. "Okay," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Let's do it. Let's take the next step together." Liam smiled, his eyes filled with warmth and love. "You won't regret this, Emma," he said softly. "I promise you." They leaned in, sharing a kiss that was filled with both passion and a quiet promise of the future. The world around them seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them in that moment, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it as a team. That night, as they lay in bed, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of peace settle over her. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of the future. With Liam by her side, she knew they could handle anything. The doubts she had carried for so long began to fade, replaced by a growing sense of hope and love. She wasn't alone anymore. And for the first time in her life, she didn't have to face the world on her own. Together, they would navigate whatever came their way, building something beautiful, step by step. As Emma and Liam returned from their getaway, the bond between them had never been stronger. The days they had spent at the cabin felt like a breath of fresh air, a reminder of what truly mattered. They had made promises to each other, promises to face the future together, no matter what it held. Emma had started to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could have it all: love, security, and a life full of possibilities. Back in the city, life slowly returned to normal. Emma continued her job at the diner, but now she wasn't doing it alone. Liam had kept his word, supporting her without hesitation, and helping her in ways she never thought possible. He had introduced her to people who could help her with her art, and she had started to take small steps toward opening her own studio. It wasn't much, but it was progress, and for Emma, that was everything. One evening, after a long day at work, Emma came home to a surprise. Liam was standing in her kitchen, holding a bottle of wine and a smile that lit up the room. "I thought we could have a little celebration," he said, his eyes twinkling. "You've been working so hard, and I'm so proud of everything you're doing." Emma felt her heart swell at his words. She had never been one to celebrate her successes, especially not when they felt so small, but Liam's enthusiasm made everything feel bigger, more important. "What are we celebrating?" she asked, walking toward him. "Everything," Liam replied simply. "How far you've come. How far we've come." They spent the evening talking, laughing, and enjoying each other's company. It was the kind of evening Emma had always dreamed of but never thought she deserved. As the night went on, Liam grew more serious. He set his wine glass down and turned to face her, his expression soft but full of intent. "Emma, there's something I've been thinking about," he said, his voice steady. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure where this was going, but she could tell it was important. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam took a deep breath, his gaze never leaving hers. "I want to build a life with you," he said, his words coming slowly but with so much meaning. "I don't just want to be your boyfriend or your partner. I want to be your family, Emma. I want us to be a team. For real. Forever." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had always been afraid of committing to someone, afraid that if she let herself fall too deeply, she would end up alone again. But here was Liam, offering her everything she had ever wanted. Her eyes filled with tears, and she felt her chest tighten. "Liam," she said softly, her voice trembling. I want that too. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. He smiled, relief washing over him, and reached for her hand. Then let's make it official, he said. Let's start our life together for real. Emma couldn't believe it. This wasn't a dream. It was happening. She was finally ready to take the leap, to trust in someone completely, and to build a future with Liam by her side. Yes, she whispered, her voice full of emotion. Yes, I'll be with you, always. Liam pulled her into a tight embrace, his arms wrapped around her as if he never wanted to let go. I promise you, Emma, he said, his voice filled with love. I will always be here, through everything. You'll never have to face the world alone again. The next few days were a blur of excitement and happiness. Emma and Liam spent their time planning their future, talking about where they wanted to live, what their dreams were, and how they could build a life that reflected who they were together. Emma couldn't believe how easy it was to talk to him, to share her hopes and fears without hesitation. For the first time, she felt like she wasn't alone in the world, that there was someone who truly understood her. But as the excitement of their new future began to settle in, Emma couldn't help but feel a twinge of nervousness. They hadn't talked about the practicalities yet, the details that came with building a life together. How would they manage their finances? Where would they live? What about their careers? There were still so many questions, and Emma wasn't sure if she was ready to face them. One evening, as they sat together on the couch, Emma finally spoke up. Liam, she said quietly, I know we've been dreaming about our future, but I'm scared. I don't know how we're going to make it all work. I don't want to fail us. Liam turned to her, his expression full of understanding. Emma, he said gently, you're not alone in this. We're a team, remember? We'll figure it out together. And if we hit a bump in the road, we'll face it together. I'm not going anywhere. Emma felt her heart settle at his words. Maybe she didn't have all the answers, and maybe they didn't have everything figured out yet, but she knew one thing for sure. They were in this together, and that was all that mattered. With Liam by her side, she could face anything. And for the first time in a long time, she was ready to believe in a future full of love, possibilities, and happiness. The months flew by, and as Emma and Liam continued to build their life together, everything seemed to fall into place. The nervousness and doubts Emma had once felt slowly melted away, replaced by a sense of peace and security. They had faced challenges. Of course, nothing worth having ever came easy, but they had always worked through them as a team, and that made all the difference. Emma's art studio, once just a dream, was now becoming a reality. She had saved up enough to start renting a small space, and with Liam's support, she was finally able to pursue her passion full-time. The feeling of creating something all her own, something that didn't depend on anyone else, was exhilarating. But what made it even better was knowing that Liam was by her side every step of the way, cheering her on. It wasn't just about the art. It was about everything they had built together. They had created something real, something that mattered. Liam, too, had made strides in his career, and though they had both risen in their respective fields, they had never let their success get in the way of what truly mattered: each other. They were equal partners, supporting one another through the ups and downs, without competition, without ego. As Emma's first solo art exhibition loomed on the horizon, Liam suggested they take a weekend getaway to celebrate their achievements. You've worked so hard for this, he said, and I think we both need a little break before everything gets crazy. Emma smiled, touched by his thoughtfulness. They rented a cozy cabin in the mountains, far from the city, where they could relax and recharge before the big day. It was peaceful, quiet, the perfect setting to reflect on how far they had come. One evening, as they sat on the porch, sipping wine and watching the stars, Emma turned to Liam, her heart full. I can't believe how much has changed, she said softly. A year ago, I never would have thought I'd be here, doing what I love, with you by my side. Liam reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. I've always known you had it in you, he said, his voice warm. You're stronger than you realize, Emma, and I'm just lucky that I get to be here with you. Emma smiled, her eyes shining. She knew that everything she had ever wanted was within her reach now, not just because of her hard work, but because of Liam's unwavering belief in her. I'm the lucky one, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. The weekend passed in a blissful haze, and soon it was time to return to the city. Emma was nervous about her exhibition, but as she looked at Liam, standing by her side, she knew she was ready. The night of the exhibition arrived, and it was everything she had hoped for. The gallery was filled with people, her art displayed beautifully on the walls, and Liam was right there with her, beaming with pride. She couldn't have asked for a better moment. You did it, Emma, Liam said, his eyes never leaving hers. "This is just the beginning." Emma smiled, her heart full. "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied. As the night went on, surrounded by friends, family, and people who admired her work, Emma realized that the fear and uncertainty that had once held her back were gone. She had built something of her own, and she had done it with the person she loved by her side. It wasn't just about the success or the recognition, it was about the journey they had shared and the life they were continuing to build together. Later that night, as they sat on the balcony of their apartment, Liam turned to her, his eyes soft and serious. "Emma," he said quietly, "there's one more thing I've been thinking about." Emma's heart raced at the tone of his voice. "What is it?" she asked. Liam reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it to reveal a simple, elegant ring. "I know we've already built a life together," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "But I want to make it official, Emma. I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Emma's breath caught in her throat, and she felt a rush of emotions flood through her. This was it. This was the moment she had been waiting for. "Liam," she whispered, her voice thick with tears. "Yes. Yes, I will marry you." Liam's face lit up with joy, and he gently slipped the ring onto her finger. They kissed, the world around them fading into the background. In that moment, nothing else mattered. They had built a life together, a future filled with love, hope, and endless possibilities. And now, they would continue to build it side by side for the rest of their lives. Emma knew that no matter what challenges came their way, they would face them together, just as they always had. With Liam by her side, she could face anything. She was no longer afraid of the future. She was ready to embrace it with him, with all the love and joy that they had created together.